Good afternoon, welcome to Mckinley. So as you will have seen in my last video with the autumn update, the extension is pretty much complete. We've now got to do something terrible to this beautifully complete part of the old layout, London. We've got to take the axe to chunks of it and do some terrible things in order to allow connectivity. So stay tuned, have a listen. So in order to effect the changes we're going to be making, the nearmost pair of tracks down here, they're already rising above this track, and so they can just carry on straight out through the hole in the wall. The rearmost tracks have a problem because they descend down beneath the baseboard and then cut under the baseboard. If I rewind the clock back to 2001, when David Marshall, the intrepid railway modeller that helped me build the original railway layout, and I were involved, we built the London baseboard in hingeable sections. There is the platform section and the engine section, and the bridge is a lift-out module. It simply unscrews and gets plonked somewhere else. We are going to have to do some serious surgery to the back segment, this quadrant in the corner here. If you notice, the wall is at an angle there. Who knows why they did that when they built this house? Probably a chimney breast or something, but we don't have the space to take two pairs of track behind the back scenery. If I get my trusty rod here, beyond about this point here, the track has already descended beneath, and at this point it's going underneath this layout, and you will have a close-up picture of this, and you can see here we are going to have to cut back platform 1 and probably platforms 2 and 3. We're going to have to move this hinge to the next purlin along here, cut the baseboard apart and then re-stiffen it at the rear just to facilitate those two rear tracks getting out and into the other room. So some brutal surgery at the structural level for London. Whilst we're doing all that, there's a stack of maintenance and improvement work that we've decided it's worth doing. Some of it's essential and some of it's, well, it's all essential really. The key aspects that we're going to be changing is that the freight yard at the front here is in effect from the point down there by the gantry. It's really a cosmetic, just 3 long sidings. It has no real applied purpose, and we intend to morph this into a high value goods area such as refrigerated goods, duty bound goods such as alcohol, tobacco. So they would typically come in vans and refrigerated vans into a depot here on the side of London. And with that rebuilding, we'll be putting in uncouplers and RFID so that we've got the same powerful system that we're using on the new 3 portions out there. This station will be upgraded to the same capability. We'll also be adding RFID to all of the platforms and the engine shed so that we can monitor traffic. We can see which coach sets are in which platforms. We'll be adding RFID to the carriage sidings over the far side. So all in all, there's probably about 25 RFID sensors that we'll be putting in. While we've got the baseboard up and we're doing things, there's a stack of maintenance work which is not absolutely essential, but why would we not do it? The point motors haven't been touched in 20-something years. We're going to take every point motor off the baseboard, we're going to take it apart, and we're going to check the wipers. These tortoise motors have been very reliable in terms of their motor action, but the wipers can historically have started to become either dirty by contact, or if we've not installed the point motor at a good angle to the point lever, it causes stresses which cause the wiper to cut into the PCB, and therefore it becomes ineffective on the 2 switches. And so every point motor in this yard will be upgraded, either be refurbished or thrown out and a new one put in. We'll be adding RFID everywhere, and then I think that covers most of the modifications that we're going to be doing to the baseboard on the platforms. In the engine shed, there's always been a series of about 5 medium points which don't particularly work well with big locomotives. And so I'm going to show you now with an engine running out of there that all the points that this crosses now will be replaced and the track work in that area altered. We'll also be building a new engine shed in that location. It used to be up against the turntable. And we're moving tracks back so that we can put a signal box by the bridge. So follow this engine while I bring it out of where the engine shed is going to be. After we've replaced all those points and realigned the track in the engine shed, the thought occurs to me that we could really use RFID to make the whole process of putting engines in the shed a bit more realistic. And so we're going to be putting RFID readers on the coaling track, on the run-in track, on the turntable, and in the engine area, and in the oiling section or the fuel section for diesels, so that when an engine is coming off its turn on the railway, and I don't think we'll implement this initially, at least I will have the sensors embedded in the layout so that if I wanted to enforce realistic locomotive movements, i.e. train comes in, it's got to be cold or fueled. It's got to go and be watered if it's a steamer. It's got to go on shed and it can't be used for more than 4 hours. So those kind of things. I don't know. But the point is, we're here now, we've got that technology, we might never use it, but if we don't put it in, I might be kicking myself in 5 years' time, and I don't want to be lifting London again. This will be the last time it ever gets lifted, he hopes. We've also got to refurbish the turntable motors. The Fleischmann turntables have been in there for 20 years. I don't think I've ever oiled the motor. So we're going to be getting that out and getting Pete to give it a bit of TLC. And hopefully we don't have to buy a new motor or a turntable. We'll find out. One area that I would love some help with is to do with the back scenes. You've obviously seen some of the amazing back scenes that a lady in the early 2000s by the name of Jenny Drake built for me. She stitched it in, lined up with our back scenes, and we do not have a back scene for London. And I need to find a designer and who has access to printer who can do metre high back scenes, the whole height of this. So if anybody knows somebody that is capable of doing city scene back scenes and the syllable calibre to that was done by Jenny Drake 20 years ago, I would love a recommendation. So maybe you can help me. I'd appreciate that. So you can imagine what life's going to look like in here in a couple of months' time. These baseboards that are on their hinges will be up somewhere here, propped up with us taking all the point motors off. We might have to disconnect everything and disconnect all the wires and take these baseboards off. We don't know. Can we do work in situ? It's a bit like open heart surgery to some extent, working on this railway. And once that's all been done and closed off and put back down, we've then got to put the new standard stuff. We've got to replace the control panel with the new designs. We've got to put the yard manager screen up there that will show them what the movements are for the freight and the coaching stock, and the station manager iPad. So this station, and it needs a complete cleanup. You know, some of this stuff hasn't been looked after in 15, 20 years since David first put it in, and it needs to have a freshen up. So we've got ends for the roofs here that are being made in 0.5 millimeter ply cut with laser, and it looks just like the end of Paddington. I can't wait to show you. We want to put that sort of eagle cutaway roof on here where we have glazing on the top and wooden panels, horizontal panels, but I want it to be curved so that operators can see into the station, because there's pointless having a completely covered station where people can't see what engine is at the other end. So that eagle cutaway where they've got a gap up here and your mind will just imagine that the roof is complete. So with a new back scene, with upgraded sort of street furniture and station furniture, repairing the back scene here that we've cut away and hacked the underground entrance, we've got to preserve that somehow. We think this is probably about 3 months' work for 2 people, getting all this sorted out, getting the back scene in place and getting the new panels built up there. Once we've done this one, we've then got to go on and do Manchester. So, and then we're going to draw a line. We could upgrade Birmingham, but I can't face doing all these things. I want to run a railway. So when these 2 have been done, we'll have had 6 months worth of work out there, operating it, playing with it, checking it works well, and that the systems are reliable, and it's fun for the operators just playing with trains, which is the key. Once we've done that, we'll then connect them up, and hey presto, we'll be having a big railway. Then we can start to show you some exciting train movements, and I look forward to that. So that's the adventure that lies in front of us for London and the rest of this room. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.